everyone, this is the channel Cooking is Easy and I am Olga Matvey. Today we are making the famous Prague chocolate cake or Prague cake. This recipe is a remake of one of my previous recipes. I once filmed it somewhere in my old apartment. Well, in general, I decided to reshoot it to have a beautiful recipe, so to speak. In fact, there are 3 versions of Prague on my channel. They are all delicious. You can make each version and try them, choose for yourself which one you like. Under the video, there are links to all my cake versions. And also, at the end of the video, there will be live windows you can click on to go and watch. So today's recipe is my grandmother's recipe. This recipe has mainly become a favorite among all housewives. This is a very, juicy version of Prague, because the Ghost version is made without soaking, it's drier and made a bit differently. This version is more widespread. I think that in many of our grandmothers' and mothers' books and notebooks, this recipe can be found. I will show you how to prepare it. So 3 eggs at room temperature. Beat until foamy. When the eggs are well mixed and stirred, add half of the sugar amount. We need a cup of sugar. For the recipes, the specified grams are also added by eye, just approximately half. I even add less because it's better to divide the sugar in 2-3 additions. The eggs mixed with sugar are added to a cup of sour cream. Sour cream, I use 20% fat content or higher. I don't take less because it's thinner and more sour. Now regarding the condensed milk, here I have a whole regular standard can of condensed milk, which is 300 grams. As far as I remember, half of the amount, that is 150 grams by eye, is half a cup. We also add it here to the sour cream. Mix everything at a slow speed for a minute. Remove the whisk from this entire mixture. You can do all this with a regular hand mixer. I think everyone understands this. It's just more convenient in a large food processor. So be sure to sift the flour. It's better to sift it several times before adding it to the dough, so that the flour is sifted for the 2nd or 3rd time into the dough, and also add the cocoa directly into the flour. Now I'll take a spoon and carefully sift it. Now, mix at the slowest speed so that the cocoa doesn't scatter all over the kitchen. And now you need to catch the moment when not all the flour is yet mixed into the dough. Now it will start to mix. Look here, and I'll take the baking soda. You see, this is approximately how it starts to mix with the dough. I turn it off and take a teaspoon of baking soda. Can it be replaced with baking powder? I think of course it can be. It's not critical, but in my grandmother's recipe it was written as a teaspoon of baking soda. Take a few teaspoons of vinegar or 1 tablespoon. I always use 9% vinegar. Quench the baking soda well and add it to the dough. Everything is well beaten and mixed. Look, a homogeneous dough. We remove the whisk and prepare the mold. I take a regular springform pan. The diameter of my mold is 23 centimeters. You can bake in a multi-cooker as you prefer. So, I close it and trim. If you don't have parchment paper, then you need to sprinkle the bottom with flour or grease it with oil, but I don't grease the sides. In a multi-cooker, grease is instructed in the manual. Now, I will take the dough. By this time, your oven should already be preheated to 180 degrees. We send the dough here and immediately put it in the oven. It bakes like a sponge cake. 25, 30, 35 minutes. It all depends on the oven. Usually I never got an erection over 40. In the preheated oven, we put the dough or bake it in the multi-cooker. Let's prepare the soaking syrup. I use cognac. I will need a glass of cognac or a mug of cognac. Actually, the proportions don't matter here. The most important thing is that the mug of cognac and the mug of sugar are the same size. Whether more or less it matters. We also add a glass of sugar here, and we put it all on the heat above medium. So look, when it starts to boil, the alcohol will evaporate. Where's my spoon? We leave a wooden spoon here. You can use a whisk, whatever is convenient. So now, when the sugar dissolves, we set lower than medium heat. It shouldn't boil too much. It should just gently simmer. The alcohol will evaporate and the whole mixture will start to thicken significantly. So look, this is a bit of cognac. Sometimes people wrote to me about this recipe saying that's a lot of cognac, but it's fine. The alcohol will evaporate. There will be no alcohol at all, just the taste of cognac. So don't worry, the amount of cognac here is perfectly proportioned. Can it be given to children? Well, it's up to you. Every child is different. Don't use cheap cognac so it doesn't turn out poorly. Chemicals, choose a more expensive cognac. Maybe someone has homemade cognac which they use in baking. So if you don't have cognac, you can basically use wine, evaporate it with sugar. But in my opinion, for Prague, either cognac or rum is best, as I have in one of my recipes. Well, it's up to you. If for some reason you don't want to use alcohol at all, then you can make a sugar syrup, as it is done in the cake according to Gost. So mix everything well. You see, the sugar hasn't dissolved yet, so I'll wait and show you how it evaporates. Look, this is how it bubbles for me. I have it set somewhere around 4, maybe 5. That's how I set the temperature. It has already become a little thicker. And let it bubble like that. Now I will start whipping the cream. It stands for about half an hour until it becomes a little thicker. The main thing is that it doesn't boil down completely, so you have enough soaking for the whole cake. Now it's time to make the cream. Take the batter, it should be very soft but well rested on the table. Be sure to put it in the mixer bowl. Whip it either with a hand mixer or like me with a stand mixer. First whip the butter well. The butter should be saturated with oxygen for, I don't know, at least 3-4 minutes. The butter is whipped. Look how light and airy it is. Now regarding various vanillas, essences, brandies and so on, like what we add to the cream itself. So either vanilla or vanilla sugar. You can add a little bit. Now as another option, I add vanilla essence, either essence or vanilla extract. Today I have vanilla extract here, so I will add a teaspoon of extract. Another option, they add brandy or rum essence. So if I make this recipe, I add brandy essence. If I make a recipe where I have the layers soaked in rum, then a couple of drops. Then the rum here is brandy, but this can be skipped. Now we add the condensed milk that we have left, which is half a cup, and mix everything well for 2 minutes. Turn off the mixer. Remove the whisk. Why? Because we will be adding cocoa here, and it's inconvenient to sift cocoa with the whisk. Add 2 tablespoons here of cocoa. I do it by eye and sift it like that. Look how beautiful the cream. It usually turns out very tasty. Mix it like this and add the whisk here. And now, together with the cocoa, beat until a homogeneous mass is formed for 2 to 3 minutes. Turn off the mixer, pick up the whisk, the cream is ready. So it looks delicious and it really is tasty. Regarding various essences and so on, you don't have to add them. It's optional. If you think it's super harmful, or you will be giving it to children, and your child might be allergic to such things, then it's up to you. But at the very least, you can definitely add vanilla. Just not vanilla sugar, but vanillin. Or you can grind vanilla sugar in a coffee grinder, and you'll get a vanilla sugar powder. That's it. The cream is ready. Set it aside. Now let's see how my syrup is doing. It's literally boiling right next to me here. Look. See, it's already become quite thick. I'm going to make chocolate fudge now, and I'll keep the syrup on the heat a bit longer, about 10 more minutes. I also want to mention what you can use as a substitute for the syrup. As an option, you can use cherry juice. Perhaps you have canned cherries at home that you preserved yourself in their own juice for the winter. Or buy some cherry compote, warm it up a little, and maybe add a bit of sugar. And soak it. It will also be tasty if you're giving it to children. But that's just an option. Take a small saucepan, pour a small amount of regular water into it, and bring it to a boil. On top, we place another one. You know, I use glass that is heat resistant. Place it on top, and the bottom of this upper saucepan should not touch the water. We add the cocoa here. The water below has boiled. It's very convenient to see when using a glass dish. We add the cocoa with sugar. Stir it. You can use a wooden spatula or a whisk and then add the milk. The amount of milk is always different because everyone's cocoa is different. I start by adding a little, approximately a quarter of a cup, stir it, and check to see if the milk is absorbed into the cocoa. How do you know if it's absorbed? You'll see now. Usually the cocoa is light. You need to stir a little so that the cocoa, there you see it seems to have worked. Add the same amount again, a quarter of a cup, approximately. This is about 4 to 5 tablespoons. Stir again. As you can clearly see, there is indeed still quite a lot of dry cocoa, so we add a little bit more milk. Look, this is the kind of lump we get of chocolate. Add more milk. The thinner it is, and even more fragile. We will get, the better the fudge, the better it will lay on the cake. So I added more milk to the mixture, approximately around 300 grams of milk milliliters, or so in total. I use a little bit more than a standard glass for this specific amount of ingredients of cocoa, but it can vary for everyone because different cocoa. Now take a whisk, mix everything with the whisk, boiling temperature. Set it slightly below medium so it doesn't bubble too much at the bottom. Mix well with the whisk. Well, actually, when I cook the fudge, I try to stay close to it, not to go far away. It won't burn if you do it in a water bath, so you can calmly wash the dishes there. Or something else. But I stand like this, very slowly and carefully and gently while stirring to make it uniform and glossy. By the way, to make the fudge glossy, I have a little life hack. I'll show you now. Already, almost at the very end of cooking, I add a small piece of butter. About a tablespoon or perhaps just a bit less. When you add the butter, it results in a glossy, transparent, light texture that looks very beautiful and shiny. On the cake, it looks extremely beautiful, appealing and attractive. So look, I've mixed everything well. Look, the cocoa has reduced a bit. You see, it drips in drops like this. This means firstly that it's not ready, and secondly that it's too thick, so we add milk. So what to do if you suddenly run out of milk and don't have a large amount of it? You only have a glass? This happens too. So just dilute that glass of milk with water and make it with water. Can you cook cocoa entirely with water? Yes. It won't be as tasty, but you can. Of course, you can also dissolve soy milk powder and cook with that. Once, when there was no money at all, I remember my mom also diluted and made us cocoa with water. There were such times, yes, I think everyone has experienced that. Therefore, we can do anything, you know? Our people are like that. All of us, you know, they are all so resourceful. You can make something out of nothing, like, you know, stone soup. So look at the texture. See, it's already more liquid. I would even add a little more milk. Almost half a liter was used this time. I took a lot of cocoa. So, everything that I use more of, I will definitely write down how many grams of cocoa and how much milk was used. So, look at the smooth texture that has been achieved. This means that the cocoa is cooked. Now you can add the butter here. Turn it off completely. And stir until the butter dissolves to incorporate the butter well into the cocoa. Just like this. I take the butter from the fridge. It wasn't left out on the table overnight, just from the butter dish. So we stir. Look at the trail. The butter leaves. See how it stretches like this? You see? A very glossy shade. All right, I won't chatter for long. It will take too long. Today, I'm chatting a lot. Mix everything. The frosting is ready. The cake is ready. Take a toothpick or a wooden skewer like this, very slowly and carefully pierce it. If it's completely dry, then it's absolutely done. Take a table knife. Run it along the edges to release the cake. Now, how to make the cake even if, like mine, it has risen with a dome. Turn it over onto a rack. like this. So, and carefully remove the bottom. Oh, the bottom is hot. And the parchment. And gently lower the cake down like this so that it levels out like this. Leave the cake layer to cool completely. It's better, of course, to let these layers rest. 8-12 hours. When the cake layer has cooled, you need to cut off the top, the dome that has risen. Now, divide the cake layer in 3. You can cut it with a thread or a knife, whichever is more convenient. Take a small cake base. And the very first layer, place it on the base like this. Take the syrup we made with cognac and soak it. See how thick it is. Soak all 3 layers completely. Now add the cream and spread it out. Don't bring it all the way to the edges, because when we assemble the whole cake, we'll press it down a bit. And the cream will even out along the sides. Soak the 3rd layer and place it soaked side down. But I always make sure to soak it. Place the last layer like this. Take a board and press it down slightly. And gently like this, carefully, to even it out like this. The remaining cognac syrup, it's quite thick, so I use it to soak a bit upwards. We usually spread jam, but here I spread this cognac syrup. This helps the chocolate spread well on top. And it doesn't get absorbed into the layer itself. Lift the cake with the base, transfer it to a rack. It's ideal if you have time. It needs to be placed in the refrigerator for 2 hours. I left the cake in the refrigerator for half an hour. Now I pour the glaze. The glaze, or you need to heat it again so that it becomes liquid, because it should flow freely, like this. Carefully leave the cake on the rack so that all the glaze completely drips down and thoroughly sets and evenly. Do not transfer it until it has cooled down. Of course, this way it takes a bit more chocolate, but nevertheless it turns out very beautiful. After the cake has been in the refrigerator for a couple of hours, it can be served. So the moment of truth, I'm cutting. Well, in the cut, a very beautiful Prague. Now I will taste it and tell you what we have achieved. So, you know, it's that feeling when you buy a cake somewhere and you expect a certain taste from it. This is exactly that moment. Not when you buy a cake, eat it, and it's not even close to what you expected. Dima, I allow you to eat half the cake today. It's that delicious. The cognac soak in the layers. It's so tasty. You don't taste the alcohol at all. But this cognac syrup, it's very delicious. Make this Prague cake. If you haven't made this particular one, you must try it. The chocolate glaze, slightly bitter against the backdrop of the sweet cake. As an option, you can pour ganache over it, decorate the top. There are plenty of variations for decorating. I have 3 Prague cakes, and all 3 are decorated differently. And I even have a couple more options, but I won't be filming another version of Prague because I simply don't know any others. Super! So, another point. In my family, they like it when the Prague cake is taken out of the fridge a couple of hours before serving. Then the buttercream softens a little and it becomes tender, more tender. In general, with the beginning, so to speak, of winter to you. For me, Prague is a winter cake. The holidays begin, we make Prague. All right, enjoy your meal, everyone. Be sure to try this version. There are links under the video. To my other Prague recipes, go ahead, take a look. There are live windows at the end of the video. Wait, click, it will be easier to navigate. Give it a like. If you didn't like it, then give it a like anyway. But I think you will be very pleased with this Prague. Thank you for being with me today. Thank you for subscribing to my channel.